I feel like we're on the same old message, same every day, but things are about to get considerably worse in Canada, worse than they've already been. When you think about food bank lineups, when you think about people losing their homes, their jobs, their livelihoods, for life getting difficult, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but things are about to get significantly harder for Canadians across the country. In fact, one of my viewers called it in a live stream last night the summer of pain, and I believe they couldn't be more correct. When it comes to USMCA, everything's about to get very difficult. We're going to highlight that right now and talk about a big problem that's going on in this country because, as George Carlin says, it's a big club and you're not in it. Mark Carney was asked about USMCA, and again, this was less than 48 hours ago. Keep in mind that at the time of filming this video, USMCA is set to expire in just 3 days. 3 days. I'll tell you what's going to happen with USMCA. Mark Carney's going to do what he did with the tariffs, and we're going to talk about tariffs just after this. He's going to wait by the phone. He's going to try to hash out a deal. He'll take whatever Trump offers him, and then he'll call it the best deal we could have got. This is the guy who ran on the campaign, by the way, that he was going to get a deal with President Trump, that he was the man for the job. How's that worked out for all the people who voted for Mark Carney with their elbows up? Here you've got him admitting he had a phone call with President Trump, and he didn't even raise the issue of USMCA. I'm just going to play a small clip because the majority of it is word salad. He doesn't even actually answer the question, but here we go.
Ambassador Hoekstra told CTV News on Tuesday that Canada and the U.S. aren't, quote, anywhere close in terms of a deal. You just spoke with the president yesterday. Do you agree?
So first off, you see how he shrugged that off? Just, whatever. It's just a trade deal. We only have 80% of our trade through the United States. No big deal. Keep in mind, I've mentioned it many times. His deal for Chinese EVs, for everything with China, for Asian markets, is contingent on a USMCA deal. This is why he doesn't care what deal he gets. Trump has said he doesn't want to sign it. He'd prefer not to sign it, but he probably will sign it. Americans are about to get the deal of a lifetime. And this guy doesn't care because, and we're going to highlight it, it all protects his assets.
I've seen with the president is that you're not close to make a deal and then you make a deal. I've seen that in different cases. It doesn't mean the deals are good deals, but it means being prepared, having done the work, knowing what you want. So both things can be true.
So wait, let's go back for a second. He's preparing everybody for what I just said. We're not getting a good deal. Here we go.
Agree.
What I have seen with the president is that you're not close to make a deal and then you make a deal. I've seen that in different cases. It doesn't mean the deals are good deals, but
there it is right there. You're not close to making a deal and then you make a deal. And it's not a good deal. They're not always good deals. So he's admitted that the deals he has struck for Canada are bogus. And he's admitted that the Americans are essentially going to say, look, we don't need anything from you. But we're going to put this agreement in place because all of our trade goes back and forth. And they don't want it to cripple America's jobs or give Americans a problem either. Donald Trump has the midterms to associate with now, or to deal with. He's not going to lose USMCA because of his pride over Carney, but the Americans are going to get an amazing deal. Mark Carney doesn't care what the deal is so long as one is formed at the 11th hour and it protects his deals with Asian markets. Now, when we go to President Trump, and this was just posted 22 hours ago, Trump just threatened a 100% tariff on any country that imposes a digital service tax on U.S. companies. Canada has one. If this escalates, Ottawa won't just be taxing big tech. It could be taxing Canadian exporters. At what point does this stop being tax policy and become trade policy? So here you have President Trump on Truth Social posting out, numerous European countries have been discussing the imminent implementation of a digital service tax on American companies. We already saw the dust that this kicked up in Canada when they first started mentioning it. Some of these countries are close to actually doing this. Please let this statement serve to represent that any country that imposes such a tax will immediately be met with a 100% tariff on any and all goods sent to the United States of America. This tariff will supersede trade deals made with the country. Again, talking about things like USMCA, whether implemented, signed, or not. This is specifically for Canada. Additionally, the 100% tariff will be immediately imposed if they proceed. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So this isn't for European countries. He's talking about whether implemented, signed or not. He's talking about Canada. Canada's about to feel the pain. And it's all Mark Carney's fault. Now, when we highlight that, this is the government machine. This is how the government works. This is how the government operates. But there's a big problem in this country because some people are starting to push back. Some people are starting to fight back against the government and their mandates and their scandalous behavior and their spending and their bogus deals like we're seeing with Mark Carney, the padding of their pockets. Well, it's time to move over to Pierre. Now, I know a lot of people have their reservations about Pierre. Personally, I like the guy. He's been dealt a really crappy hand with the system. I don't know how he's going to come back. I really don't know how he's going to come back. I like him. I think he's the best person for the job when it comes to being a Canadian prime minister. However, we're going to point out some hypocrisy here. He's got a 4-minute clip here. And we need to go through it because he highlights a lot of things that, again, go back to the George Carlin quote, it's a big club and you're not in it. It's the first thing Pierre Poilievre talks about in this video, but the hypocrisy is resounding. Let's take a look.
So imagine there's this club. It's got its privileges, but there's one problem. You don't get to join. Welcome to Carney's Canada. There is a club in this country of liberal power brokers, insiders, and lobbyists. They get rich making others poor. We saw it.
Okay, so hold on a second, Pierre. There is a club in this country, but it's not just the liberals. There's also the conservatives. There's also the NDPs. And yes, unfortunately, there's also a Green Party and the Bloc. All of them talk to lobbyists. If Pierre became prime minister, the one thing that isn't being announced here, those lobbyists would be talking with him and his party. You know, it's not to slap at Pierre. It's you got to call a spade a spade. It's the system that's the problem, not just the liberals.
Just last week with the Carney condo bailout. So here's what happened. The liberals inflated a housing bubble, making billions for these particular developers. Then the bubble burst, and Mark Carney couldn't have them lose money.
Developers are stuck. They don't want to sell at a loss. They can't afford to hold those empty units indefinitely.
Well, somebody's going to have to lose money. If the condos sell below the cost of building them, then shouldn't it be the corporations who made the bad decision? No. They're part of the club. You, on the other hand, are not part of the club because you did not host a fundraiser for Mark Carney like they did. You did not host a $25,000 a head event for his housing minister like they did. Because they're in the club, they pass their losses on to you.
Okay, so this raises a big point. This is where we talked about before, and I told people to bookmark that video. I said when Mark Carney announced his Canada Strong Fund, where he wanted Canadians to invest, this is what it was for. I said he's going to give big corporate bailouts to the people he's overinflated. That's what's happening here with the developers. He overinflated the housing market, and now he's going to give them bailouts so that they stay rich and we end up paying for it. Again, this is why the system doesn't work.
I wish this were an isolated incident, but there's also the tens of billions of dollars of corporate welfare programs that Mark Carney has set up, giving money to companies that should be raising it through their sales and through their private investment like happens in the real world. And then there's the Alto Rail scam. This is a project that will probably not even begin construction for 10 years, and yet they already have 18 executives who've received $2.8 million of bonuses. Bonuses for what?
Well, let's talk about that. One of the people who's on Alto's board who got bonuses was Francois Philippe Champagne, Squeaky, his wife. And he refuses to answer that in committee. I just want to point that out here. Again, there's a big club. You're not a part of it.
They have no start date, no route, no builder, no investor, no nothing. And yet they're getting performance bonuses in the millions of dollars paid for by you. Of course they are. They're in the club and you're not. This is how Mark Carney made his fortune at Brookfield. He was not a businessman. He was a power broker. His job was to convert political power into government favors, and he did it very well. Here he is bragging that he got a green fuel mandate on aviation that raised ticket prices for flying for regular passengers but ultimately made money for Brookfield on its investments.
What's happened in the UK, the EU, is they've said to major airlines, look, if you're flying in and out of Heathrow or wherever, you have to have 10% of your load has to be sustainable aviation fuel, because all of a sudden American Airlines, British Airways need to buy that fuel. They'll pay a green premium. You've got an offtake, that's high credit quality. And so in that case, we Brookfield put $1 billion to work there, and it's a fantastic opportunity.
So we pointed out that video. In fact, that video was what cost this channel its silver play button for misinformation, even though that was all we played for over a year. We had to fight for that silver play button for the channel. And it's all because Mark Carney essentially said before he was prime minister, keep in mind that interview took place before he was prime minister, that policy pushes profits. This is why he was consulting pro bono for people like Justin Trudeau. It's the same reason all the deals are going through in Canada the way that they are, is because policy pushes profits. We've covered multiple avenues of how Mark Carney's ties to Brookfield and his investments, his blind trust, benefit him in the long game.
Here he's calling for government funding for heat pumps.
We need almost 2 million Canadians to transition from expensive propane, oil, electric baseboard heating to more affordable electric heat pumps.
What do you know? His company is invested in heat pumps. And then after all of that, he stashed the cash in offshore tax havens. One organization even said that Brookfield was the #1 tax avoider in all of Canada. So while he avoids paying his share, he makes you spend more on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined. This is the Liberal Club economy. And that's what we're fighting against. And the club knows it. That's why they fight back so hard against me every day and every way you see them attacking me in the media. They know that I will cancel the corporate welfare, close.
Okay, so we're going to cut Pierre's video right there. Because we've seen this before somewhere, haven't we? Doesn't this seem familiar? Well, they're afraid of Pierre. They're afraid he's going to cancel their bonuses. He's afraid they're going to cancel his payouts. They're afraid that he's going to cancel any benefit they have remaining in the government. But the problem, folks, is the hypocrisy that what Pierre's actually talking about here is the government machine. If the Conservatives take office, I'm sure there's great things they would do for Canada, like getting rid of bad economic laws that prohibit provinces from doing their jobs. I'm sure that they would actually open up trade. But if you think that the lobbyism, if you think that everything stops, it just exchanges hands. And that's the problem. There's other provinces right now vying for things like separation. Why? Not because they're angry at Mark Carney or Justin Trudeau. It's because the system doesn't work for the people anymore. People want an update to that system. People want new laws. Where have we heard this before? That if you go against all of the bad things that are inhibiting your ability to a bright future, they will attack you. The media will attack you. Oh, I know. Pierre sat down to talk about what's happening in Alberta right now because him, Mark Carney, and their entire federal parties are coming to Alberta this summer to tell everybody you shouldn't be voting for separation from the Canadian government. Why? Because just like Pierre ending Mark Carney's handouts, Alberta stops sending money to Ottawa in terms of transfer payments, in terms of GDP. It ruins their credit card, essentially. There's no more budget for them to keep spending. And for the Conservatives, it destroys their party. Can't have their club come to a close, can we? Let's take a look.
On separatism, do you support Alberta Premier Daniel Smith putting this independence question to a referendum?
Look, the thing is happening, but we have to deal with it. At the end of the day, I wish it weren't happening, but it is, and I'm going to make the case for Canada. And I'll be spending time throughout the summer going to visit with people in communities big and small, north, south, east, and west in the province, to make the case for Canada and make sure Albertans know that they are heard and loved within our Confederation. And I hope that every Canadian will wrap their arms around Albertans to bring the country together.
One big embrace, right? Give everybody a hug. Kumbaya. Here's the problem. And again, I like Pierre, but here's the problem, Pierre. With what you just said, The hypocrisy is overwhelming. You can't stand and say, well, this is why Mark Carney and the media attack me. This is why they come after me, because I'm over the target, because their fun comes to an end. It's the same reason you guys are coming here, because you know if Alberta leaves, your system is destroyed. You know that you don't have any more leverage. This is why you're attacking us in the media. This is why you're pushing so hard to make the independence movement essentially fall apart into nothing. They know we're close to a win. They know we have the numbers, or else, I'll be honest, they'd probably enjoy their summers at their cottages. They'd probably go abroad and enjoy time with their families, maybe do a little work on the side. But however, they wouldn't be hanging out in Alberta trying to convince people, hey, please, please don't put your ex on that ballot on October 19th. Mark Carney even comes forward to call it a bluff. Just like Pierre says, they'll attack you in the media. They'll attack you because they know you've got the ability to ruin their good time. Keith Wilson says calling Alberta's Democratic vote a dangerous bluff is not leadership. It's Ottawa trying to intimidate Albertans for asking a lawful constitutional question. The Supreme Court of Canada recognized a legal path, a clear question, a clear majority, and negotiations. That is democracy. But they don't want democracy in this country. I know the video is long, but all of this has to be covered because you have to show how they claim the system works for you while also pointing out why the system doesn't work for you. Here's Mark Carney calling it a bluff.
I will make the following observation, though, about the question, and it's this is an observation from experience. In these separation issues, it is often advanced that vote for this and it's a free option. Vote for this and we will strengthen our hand in a future negotiation. That is a very dangerous bluff. That is a very dangerous bluff.
It's a very dangerous bluff. Or do we stay where we are, be overtaxed, pay for bailouts, pay for $25,000 a head dinners, and bureaucrats telling us that we're wrong, that we should be the working poor, that we should keep giving the majority of what we make into the taxation system, only for them to give it to other countries, for them to say it's your responsibility to rebuild government houses. It's your responsibility to fund forever wars. It's your responsibility to not be able to afford to feed your family so that we can jet set around the world and eat braised beef and enjoy luxury butter, whatever the hell that is. This is the problem with our country. And Pierre Poilievre has just single-handedly pointed it out. The problem isn't independence. The problem isn't separation. The problem isn't even the people. The problem is the system that has no representation for anybody past the Ontario border. The problem is the system doesn't allow for those with a voice in order to lead the country to fix things. It doesn't allow for fair representation. It doesn't allow for a balanced Senate. It doesn't allow for your voice to be heard. And all it does allow for is fat, sweaty bureaucrats to pad their pockets like pigs at a trough taking your money. It allows for a censorship state. It allows for corruption at its finest. Those like Philip Francois Champagne and his wife to get bonuses for high-speed rails that don't even have shovels in the ground, for MOUs that are never going to get built to continue. That is the issue in this country. Albertans need to wake up and realize you have a couple of months to make the decision of a lifetime. Do you want to continue down this path and shoveling your money out into a burning furnace that just sucks your money dry and leaves you poor? Or is it time to say, even though I'm a Canadian, even though I love my country, this system doesn't work anymore. It's a failed experiment. We're too culturally divided. Now is the time to change the path forward and set a precedent for the rest of the country. That if the system isn't working for them, maybe the time is for them to make those changes as well. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I sincerely hope this video has earned your subscription. We're getting censored at an all-time high, so please hit that subscribe button, leave a thumbs up and a comment down below, and share this video out on your socials so that everybody can get the message. It's the one thing, again, they're attacking us. They don't want that to get out. It's a big club, folks, and we're not a part of it, so let's expand that club. Join me live on the channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all three of our amazing amazing live streams with all of our co-hosts. We talk about everything happening in politics, everything we know coming up in the weeks ahead, as well as Q&A within the greatest YouTube community on the platform. I always look forward to chatting with you guys outside of those videos. I most importantly look forward to chatting with you this week, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.